So before really starting this video, I want to add a little bit of context. I think I am not the first one you see on YouTube using the Hasselblad X2D, and basically I just received an opportunity that I couldn't turn down. Hasselblad reached out and provided me with one of their camera, the X2D, and one lens in exchange for a video on my channel, the one you are watching right now, which makes it a sponsored video. But with that said, this video is not going to be a detailed review or any sort of advertisement to convince you to buy the camera. Hasselblad gave me all the creative freedom to create a video very typical for my channel, the one I am used to make and the one you are used to see. When relevant, I will introduce and briefly develop on some features of the X2D, but other than that, as usual, it will be a video about taking photos, capturing the atmosphere of the place I visit, and as much as I can, trying to explain the thought process behind the photos and the compositions. So you can take as many grains of salt as you want when listening to me talking about the X2D, and yeah, now that you have the context, I hope you will like the video. Good morning and welcome to Tomonoura. It is a cute little port town not too far from Hiroshima, and I'm here today to shoot with the Hasselblad X2D, and I have a 55mm lens on it, which makes a 43mm equivalent in full frame terms. And yeah, I think there is the first composition down the street in front of me. So here we really have a scene that I like because there's this road forming the leading lines, and you know, I always like when it's curved. I prefer like curved leading lines over like straight ones. And there's a bunch of light at the end of the road, and we can see the sea, which looks quite nice. And with the light, it creates plenty of contrast. So if we have a subject walking here, it will stand out really nicely. So that's what I'm going to do. I will wait for one single subject to fill the frame here, and yeah, hopefully it will turn out good. In a situation like this, you could go for something very simple, stand in the center of the street and having a composition very symmetrical, very centered. But what I'm deciding to do here is put the vanishing point, so the end of that street, on the right third. And why I decided to put it on the right third is that you have two sides on the street, and I find that the left side has more interesting features. You have these orange things a little bit with the green here, and the right side is a bit too busy with like the strong harsh light hitting and reflecting on the cars, on the windows. So that's why I decided to put the vanishing point on the right third and keep more of the left side of the street. Kind of like this little scene with the face of this house nicely hit by the light, and it seems like a very simple composition, which it is for the most part. But look, if I just move right a little bit, you see this white fence, white metallic fence. There's another part that now shows up, and it's less clean than when I was just like a small step to the left. Here you see there's only one part of that fence, and I think it looks much better that way. So here I see a pretty cool composition with the pagoda as the main subject of the frame, but for me I see something a lot more horizontal, a lot more thin, so I can actually turn on one of the features on the X2D, which is the crop mode. You have all sorts of crops available to help you compose, and in that case I will use the expand, like this very cinematic crop. I came a little bit closer, and you can see that now there's a guy fishing here, so that adds a little human touch in the frame, which I like a lot. And here I won't use any crop, and certainly not the expand, because I also like this post and the shadow casted here on the road. So I will keep it simple, no crop, with the native full sensor, and yeah, let's grab the shot. I love these worn out posters here on the wall, and you have these three arches that are all different colors, creating a shadow here on the wall. I don't know why, I find it very appealing, and it's definitely a lot more of a abstract graphic shot. So as you can see, I just quickly came back to the car because I had to pick something up, but I will just quickly show you how I set up my camera to make good use of this crop mode. There is a custom button like right here, and I assigned it to flick through the different crops, but first I went into the menus to select only the one I likely to use, like the expand, the 6x6, like the square, and the 3x2. There's a bunch of them, which is a very good thing, I think, but if you let all of them turned on, it will take forever to flick through all of them and go back to the original crop. So yeah, I only selected those three. And the best and most important thing about this feature is that it is non-destructive. Like when you import the photos into your editing software, into Lightroom, the photos will be shown into the crop mode that you selected, but you can always revert it back because the whole sensor is captured when you take the photo. So yeah, you have access to the full file, which is very important. And yeah, I really like this feature because the different crops are really helping to compose, and with 100 megapixels you still have plenty enough of data to print or to, I don't know, blow out the pictures very large, even with a crop. I was already here a little bit earlier today, but I'm glad I came back because we have a much more interesting lighting situation now. It is still backlit, but we have a lot more of the light hitting the Tolly here, really bringing up the colors, which I like. And an interesting feature about medium format is that the aspect ratio is a lot more squarish than full frame 3x2, and I really like it in a situation like that because I will compose something vertical here, portrait orientation, and there will be a lot more horizontal space natively, because with full frame 3x2, when I shoot vertically, I always end up like cropping to 5x7 or 4x5. So that's something I was really not aware about medium format before, but I'm really liking it. Here at the end of this narrow street we have a nice and clean white backdrop, creating a lot of contrast. So if we have someone stepping into this part of the frame, it will create a nice silhouette. So there's not a lot of people, but yeah, I will give it a couple of minutes to see if I can have someone filling the frame. There's something pretty interesting here with this Buddha statue and this guy. Their shadows is casted on this house, which is very nice, I think. And yeah, I just grabbed that like a portrait orientation. I thought it worked well. I'm waiting for that boat to fill this gap here, Now he's a little bit lost because there's a little island behind it, so I think I'll just have to wait 60 seconds roughly and we'll have the shot. I didn't know that the Fukuyama castle had one more like darker face, like all the other faces are white, but anyway, we have another picture where I use like the tree and the branches to frame the castle, and what I look for or what I'm paying attention at when framing this kind of shot is I make sure that the tip of the castle here on the right is roughly at the same distance from the tree compared to the tip of the castle on the left. So there's a nice balance between both sides, and it's a little detail, but it really elevates the photo to a different level. What I like here is what happens on the left side. We have a stone lantern that starts kind of a repeating pattern, because after that you have all these little wooden, I guess little houses for the gods, and it leads the eye to the main subject of the frame, which is this building here. And yeah, I think it's quite simple, but it works well. So here I first took a photo from a little bit closer, just featuring that little shrine and the different things that are under these rocks, and I stepped back, and I think that this angle is a lot more interesting because it gives more context, a bit more story. Like you have the little path that goes to the shrine, you have this big tree also on the right side, so it serves the purpose of like encapsulating and framing the main subject, but also it gives to the viewer a lot more context and a lot more things to think about when viewing this shot, like where this shrine could be located and how to go to it. I came from a nice yellow tree, but I will come back with a photo of like old abandoned trucks, still with the tree in the background, but yeah, I find this combination quite interesting to look at. So this video covered 2 days of shooting, but I've been using the camera for about a month now, and it's been a lot of fun experimenting with a camera that delivers probably the best image quality and color science available on the market, while being rather slow and quite big in my hands. The grip is very good though, so it doesn't feel as heavy as it is, but yeah, it's still very different from what I'm used to. On my other camera, I'm optimizing the setup to shoot photos and videos seamlessly, always in look for the fastest and most practical way to autofocus. I'm sticking light, compact lenses to feel less friction and being more mobile. Here with the X2D it's very different. It is a competent camera features wise too, but its strength is really in image quality and color rendering. You still have things like autofocus with face recognition, and I could even take photos in focus of my very energetic nephew, so it is a proof that it works well. But overall it is a camera that makes you approach and appreciate photography at a much slower pace, and this has positives and negatives. It is not slow to the point of excluding higher pace street photography, but definitely it is not designed for that. It is positive in the sense that you take more time to compose, connect a bit more with the photography process, and appreciate more the tool, the camera that takes the photos. A quick anecdote, my brother was visiting me 2 weeks ago, and I let him hold the camera. He has no clue about photography and he's not interested into cameras, but still he was very impressed by the build quality and the feel of the X2D. It is definitely an extremely nice looking and nice feeling piece of camera, and it can inspire some people to take more photos, but as we know, it comes at a steep price point. I think that there are a few photographers out there who need an X2D because they are shooting high-end commercials where all the megapixels are needed, or where the medium format can make the photos stand out more, and those photographers will get the best option out there by getting an X2D while making a rational purchase. The remaining photographers are the ones who want an X2D, and for that I can only respect their desire and their personal opinions that led them to get an X2D. You don't need to rationally explain why you would want a Rolex or a vintage Porsche 911, but I'm not totally okay with this comparison because I think that what the X2D has more to offer compared to these other luxury products is that it is still a camera that takes wonderful looking images and has a different value proposition than other full frame or APS-C cameras, while the Rolex or the vintage car will do their job, but less good than a digital Casio or a modern family SUV. So anyway, I enjoyed shooting with the X2D. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video, and thanks again to Hasselblad for the opportunity. See you next time.